Well, Sports Editors is delighted to have a legendary South African hockey player with us, Murray Anderson. Murray, you're a friend, but it's really good to chat to you about your career. But why not start off first and foremost? We've had the Olympics, and you know it's been an interesting event because we haven't done as well as we thought. But anyway, you went there in 1996, represented South Africa. But tell us about that experience. How was it for you, playing at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, I think it was a boyhood dream of mine. We were in isolation back in the 80s, and I had friends of mine who were sending us videotapes when I was a kid of the Olympics in 1984 in LA, and that just captured my imagination. And then in 1988 was Seoul. So I followed the Great Britain side in those days. We had no one else to follow, so I followed the Great Britain hockey side. In 84 they did well, I think they got a bronze, and then in 88 they got a gold. And that was an inspirational moment. And at that stage, my career was starting to take off. I was leaving school, and I had aspirations of playing at the Olympics, but obviously we were in isolation. So we missed the boat in 1992. We weren't unified. So I was in the South African squad, but we weren't playing international hockey. So missed Barcelona. So I got to 26, 27, and I was looking at, Atlanta was probably going to be my only chance of going to an Olympics. And I'm very happy that I did go. Something fell in place for me, and I happened to go. I was out of the side in 1995 for about 2 or 3 series. The pressure was on to get back into the team. So that experience was an amazing experience, one that I'll cherish and stays with me forever. And whenever the Olympics comes on every 4 years, those memories just flood back, and it's the most amazing and special event. So loved the Olympics. It was an amazing experience.
No, awesome. And so you got a lovely framed certificate of your attendance, I believe.
That's right. It wasn't a medal to win anything, but it was one of those thanks for coming certificates and medals.
Yeah, excellent. And Murray, it's always like you said in the beginning that obviously South Africa come through an interesting time, and maybe it was a bit of a deer in the headlights situation. And I'm not only talking about South African hockey, I'm talking a lot of sports, because it's all of a sudden now you're on this international stage, you're with world-class athletes. It must have been a bit of a, wow, we've arrived, and you almost don't know how to take the whole occasion in.
Well, we had a great send-off. I mean, we had tea with Nelson Mandela.
Oh, wow.
We had that aeroplane, I remember the Olympic aeroplane, it was colourful aeroplane. We had gala dinners. It was amazing. Just leaving South Africa was amazing. But when arriving in the United States, you can imagine, we met Bill Clinton, we had film stars coming in like Arnold Schwarzenegger into the village. You can get distracted. You've got this dining hall that is the size of 4 or 5 rugby fields, anything you want. You've got everything there, and people are throwing things, Powerade, Ray-Ban, they're throwing glasses at you and this and that. And you can get distracted. You go into an arcade where guys are playing video machines, and then you see a Wimbledon champion, Goran Ivanisevic, and you see all these guys, and you're rubbing shoulders with people, but you can get sidetracked. You can start eating incorrectly because there are 11 McDonald's that are open 24 hours a day. There's the food, so some athletes do get sidetracked. And you can go in there and not perform. And I think people sometimes perform better at their second or third because they don't get distracted by those side shows.
Yeah, definitely. So I know there must have been lots of things to look at and see and lots of activities, but what stood out for you personally? What made you feel like, wow, this is really the occasion that made it for me at the Olympics?
I think the opening ceremony was just amazing. I think, when Muhammad Ali arrived, no one knew who was going to light the flame. And it's emotional. I've actually got goosebumps just thinking about it. We didn't know who was going to light the flame. It was a huge, I think, walking into the when they announced, Republic of South Africa, and we came down this ramp, and it was 90,000 people in there. And this was the first Olympics that we had a unified Olympics back with the South African flag. Because in Barcelona they just had an Olympic flag, a South African Noxa flag. We had the South African flag. Crowds were going mad. Bill Clinton had come into the village before, and it was an amazing experience. So great to go around the track. And then when Muhammad Ali came out of nowhere, and this is a man that was shaking. He was ill at the time. It was emotional because the whole stadium started chanting Ali, Ali, Ali. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house because everyone was just emotional. See this former world champion icon of sport,
Yeah.
and then they lit the flame, and then you know that flame is on and the games are on. So it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Then Celine Dion sings "The Power of the Dream" comes up, and
Wow.
it's just, you get caught up in that whole Olympic spirit. So that was an amazing experience for me from that point of view. And then the sadness when that flame is extinguished, and you see athletes crying in the stands because they realize that their dream is over. It's over. It's the 16 days of where you treat it brilliant. It's all over. You go back to reality now.
Yeah.
That was great. And I think a highlight for us at Atlanta was in the very first game. We drew with Australia in the very first game.
Sure.
And they eventually got a medal, but that was a turn up for the books. Because Brian Myberg was our world class keeper, and he kept us in the game the whole game, and they scored just with a few minutes to go, and so it looked like we weren't going to score. We were under the cosh the whole game, but we were defensively sound, and Brian was pulling off saves, and then Greg Nicol, who was our world class striker, he had got one chance and he received it and nailed it, and it was 1-1.
There we go.
And so then all of a sudden it was like, wow, South Africa's arrived. And then you start thinking about, wow, maybe we've got a chance in this tournament somehow. And then slowly but surely your dreams fade away as the results don't go your way.
And it's interesting because Europe is known for their hockey, like you mentioned. Australia is known for their hockey, but South Africa tries really hard to maintain those standards. Well, actually, you can't say maintain, push those standards. But I think the best South Africa's ever done at the Olympics is 10th place. So where do you sort of draw the line and say, you know what, we've made it there, but when you get to the Olympics, it's almost like another step up.
Yeah.
But you've actually done your country proud because you made it to the Olympics.
I think we compete as South Africans. We rely a lot on heart and determination and glory, and for the country where other countries have got this process of 4 years and a lot of money and structure in place. So we rely a lot on that, and as South Africans, and we've had some amazing results. But it's one of those things. I think we were trailblazers. So 1996 we should have been sort of the catalyst to go on and get medals. By now, I believe we should be getting medals.
Yeah.
If you look at Argentina, for instance, Argentina were very similar to us back in the 90s. We always had very tight games against them. They just eclipsed us, men and women, and they are medal contenders in most games, especially the women. But their men's side has come on really, really well over the last 20 years. You look at Belgium. I mean, Belgium we never feared. We beat them in a series in Brussels. We used to beat them regularly, but they've just gone to another level where they are world champions and now Olympic champions. So, it shows that if you put the right structures in place, like Argentina and Belgium, we have the talent, no doubt. You look at our schoolboy hockey. Our schoolboy hockey is just as good as Australian hockey and the Dutch. But I think where we lose something is between under 18 and under 21.
Right.
The skills are there, the individuals are there, we've always had it, but it's just about funding and keeping a team together for long periods of time and playing more series than that. And I think we'll do it. I think the guys showed at this Olympics. I mean, we were so proud of them. They have competed. They've gone up there and they've competed against some of the best sides in the world because they were really in the pool of death.
No, they were.
So,
well, let's go into them because it was quite unfortunate for them. I mean, 3-0 up against Germany to end up losing 5-3. It shows that they got the
well, they beat Germany, but they lost to
Holland. They were 3-0 up against Holland. My mistake. Sorry. So it shows that the potential's there. But if you're the coach like Gareth Irving, it must be you're proud but frustrated at the same time because, like you're saying, there's a group of guys giving their utmost best, and they know if they had more time practicing instead of raising funds, they probably would have still been there or made the quarterfinals at least.
Maybe. Look, beforehand, I was worried. I thought that side, talented bunch of guys, but I was worried because I thought you hadn't had a lot of hockey. There wasn't a lot of funding. They were worried about raising funds. They should have been touring or playing matches against opposition. It was difficult with COVID. So I was worried that they might be undercooked, but they conceded a few goals. But I mean, they scored a hatful of goals, the most goals we've ever scored in an Olympic game. So it's there. So I thought against that Dutch game, We were 3-0 up a little bit too early. Brilliant goals, but it's one of those games where you score 3-0 up too early. You just knew the Dutch are so good, so composed, so experienced. Yeah. They're going to work their way back in, and we needed to score that fourth goal and fifth goal and try eke out something from that. But I always, watching the game, I was amazed that we were 3-0 up, and I was loving it. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, we need to go score 5 goals.
Yes, you're right.
So anyway,
because there is still hope, and what I say, that there's a dynamic group of young players there. There's some experienced players, and I think some of those guys will actually see in the next Olympics, hopefully. But in saying that as well, if we're first in Africa, we've got young players coming, surely something's got to drop now, and the government has to say, well, here we go, we're going to take it, because next thing is the World Cup. We should have a chance of doing better there every single time.
Yeah, we've got World Cup, we've got Commonwealth Games, and then we've got the next games come up quite quickly because we've lost that year.
Yeah, true.
So there are 3 major tournaments, and the talent is there, and with the right structures and the right financial backing, and maybe a centralized area where players are a hub, where players can train every day, where they can play competitive matches and be looked after from a physical point of view, financial point of view, all these things. If our players are worried about how they're going to find money to get to a national camp, our under 21s wanted to go to African Cup, and they were asked to pay 58,000 rand each. So you make the side and you can't afford to go. So structures in place. We should have those structures in place where those players don't have to worry about it financially.
Yeah.
They can get out and train. Yeah. Emotionally, they'll be in a better position. And I really think South Africa's got so much talent. And we've got talent in coaching. And look what we've just seen now. We've got Red Halkett now, who's part of the ladies setup, the Dutch ladies setup. They've just won gold. He's been part of that. Craig Fulton's been part of the Belgian side as an assistant coach. He went to Atlanta. I think he went to Athens as well. Gold medal with Belgium.
Sure.
Dave Stanford, he's a coach with the Australian side. They got silver. And then we had Greg Clark, our very own Greg Clark, who was assistant coach, technical advisor to the Indian side. They got a bronze medal.
Sure.
So we've got the coaching, we've got the players. Now the government's SASCOC, South African Hockey, or a huge sponsor needs to come in and back these guys, and then we might see a medal.
No,
the problem with the momentum, we went in 1996, the ladies didn't go. 2000, the ladies went, the men didn't go.
Oh, right.
You need to build on Olympic experience. So you get a guy who goes to one Olympics, and then he has to wait 8 years to go again.
Doesn't work.
So you miss that continuity. So if you get guys like Austin Smith, who's played 3 Olympics, should have played 4, that experience is amazing for a team to have, and that's what the Dutch always had. They had guys who were 33, 34, they played 3 or 4 Olympics. They've forgotten about the sideshows, they were there to get medals. So we sometimes don't have that. We have one Olympics, guys say, right, I need to get into business now, I need to make some money. I've had my Olympic dream, I've had my South Africa dream, and now I've got to get cracking on with my career. So if we can get that, I have no doubt that we've got this multitude of talent in this country.
Absolutely. Because you touch on one thing as well, and it's all known, School Sports Africa is proper. So there, I would say that half the work's already done, because the talent is being nurtured, things like that. So it's just taking them to the next level. Well, let's hope it's going to be interesting. But World Cup versus Olympics, which one has got more weight on it?
I went to my first World Cup was in '94, which was in Sydney, and it was at Homebush where the 2000 Olympics was staged. The nice thing about the World Cup is that everyone who goes there is a hockey person.
Right.
So the hospitality areas, the areas where they're selling sticks and all that, it's hockey people, and it's a huge celebration of hockey.
Yeah.
People come from all over the world, from India, Australia, Europe, and they are watching hockey because they're hockey lovers. And so I loved every moment of the World Cup. It was great. I loved every moment of the Olympics for other reasons. We were in the United States. That field hockey is only really played by females there. So people who were getting tickets, sometimes you got people who traveled to the USA just to watch the hockey, but you also had people who just were lucky to get a ticket for something.
Yeah.
So they came to hockey. So the World Cup is special, but the Olympics is always, it's the ultimate for everyone.
Yeah.
And then the Commonwealth Games is you want to win medals, but I found it a lot more relaxed with regard to the athletes and that, because you're getting a whole lot of athletes from just previously colonized areas from Britain, and it was a little bit different. There's a little bit of vibe. There's some athletes that are there that are just there for the fun because they've got into a certain team that's maybe just an island team with 3 people living there. So so it's a bit more relaxed, but it was a wonderful experience as well. The hockey was intense. So for all those 3 things it's different. You enjoy them for different reasons.
No, definitely, Murray. But it's such an interesting thing because and we're sort of moving in between the World Cup and the Olympic Games, but it's so interesting to see the drive and the desire of the guys wanting to do well. Hockey means something, but where do we draw the line in terms of competitiveness? Are we too demanding upon the players? Do we want them to do too well? Or should there be more of a factor of unconditional support? No matter where we end, we support them? Or is that competitiveness there very necessary to keep pushing the guys to go forward and do well?
Oh, you mean competitiveness from the spectators?
Yes.
There are times where people have come back from the Olympics and they've criticised. You walk down the street and someone says, "What's wrong with the hockey side?" You go, okay, let's go backtrack. These guys are at work till 6, 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They train 4 or 5 hours a night. Yeah. They get home late. They're juggling all kinds of things, family, work, trying to be an Olympic athlete. So, and they don't have the kind of funding. The Dutch guys, a little easier. India, a lot easier. Okay, Australia, a lot easier. So when you lose in a big game like that, sometimes, or in the games, or you don't win a medal, there are people that turn around and go like, "Oh, they're not really that good." Okay, I'm sure there are a couple of people talking about the water polo team right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you sometimes it's unfair because you are taking enough, to fight against someone with a machine gun. So it is difficult. But I must say how positive people have been after this Olympics. They've seen this young side that's just full of running, full of commitment, attacking, scoring brilliant goals. So we might have leaked in 9 against Belgium, but we scored 4 against the best side in the world.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of hope. So I've only heard good things.
Yeah.
And I only think that this side has inspired a new generation of young players.
Yeah.
Just from the brand of hockey they played, that they could have gone out and sat deep and played negative and tried to eke out a draw. They just went out and played. And they had a defensive pattern, and they did go deep at times, but they turned defense into attack very quickly.
Oh, yeah, true.
And that was exciting to see guys break out. Where before other teams, South African teams, when they broke out maybe with one person. They didn't break out in numbers. You look at those 4 or 5 strikers up there. Each and every one of them is an exciting player. So I just think that the spectators have been very, very positive about this Olympic Games, and rightly so. These guys have gone through hell to get there, and I was incredibly proud every time I watched them.
That's good. That's great. That's great to hear, Murray. Yeah, it's definitely something to build on, and let's hope we can go for the next one. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think the next big competition is the African Cup, if I'm not mistaken. So will Gareth Irving just literally take it competition by competition, or does he sort of look ahead and say, right, next 3 years, where are we? Or will he just sit back and say, right, Africa Cup first, let's get through this one first, let's go. What do you think he...
I think you go, I haven't coached the national side before, but I would imagine that he's got a plan to Paris. And he'll want to put that through, but obviously to get to Paris, you've got to get through all those other stages.
For sure.
So he's probably got a squad that he knows he can tap into, 20, 30 players, maybe more. He probably has 40. I think prior to going, he had quite a big squad that he brought up to do a training camp. So he's probably looking to some older members might be retiring or leaving and injecting new blood into the side and keeping that experience of the Tokyo Olympics and all the positivity there. I think he'll be trying to build on that and go step by step and build on that and gain confidence as you go through each tournament. So if you go win Africa Cup, get into the World Cup and move through Commonwealth Games next, just build on everyone. And who knows, we could win a medal at the Commonwealth Games.
That's a stepping stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I was coaching that side, I would be saying, we got to win Africa Cup.
Yeah.
We got to go to World Cup and do really, really well there. We know we can, but I'd be saying, come on, let's get into that top 5 or top 4 and possibly get a medal at the Commonwealth Games. And if we tighten up defensively, Rusty was amazing as our goalkeeper. He was absolutely outstanding. But we tighten up and the guys played together for a long period of time. Gee, it's there. It's there for the taking. It could be very exciting times. We just hope that the balloon doesn't burst.
Yes.
Everyone's amped. Everyone's talking about the Olympics. But now Gareth has got to keep that sort of, I would imagine, trying to keep that momentum going forward and the interest going forward and sponsors coming in and people saying, right, we're backing you now for the next 4 years. Go win us something.
Yeah. No, really.
So that's important.
Yeah. Because one other thing that also is quite interesting in terms of players' caps, I think, is Jeff Eustace over 100 caps. The captain's got over 100 caps, and I think maybe the next best is maybe 50 odd caps. I must stand to be corrected.
I think Austin Smith was the most caps.
Most caps.
He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He's 36 now, and
yes.
he made his debut at 20 odd. So he's the most capped, but I don't know how long Austin's going to carry on for.
Well,
maybe they'll use him through to the Africa Cup, maybe Commonwealth. I'm not sure what's in his plans, but he didn't announce any retirement. Rusty Peterson announced his retirement.
Yeah.
So these guys with the experience they got now is amazing, but they need to build on caps.
Yeah.
There's nothing more better than playing Holland more often, Belgium more often, Australia more often, not Namibia.
Yeah.
All respect, all respect to them, but you've got to go play those top sides.
No, for sure.
You're used to playing those top sides.
And I think changes slightly to sport. That's why rugby is so successful in South Africa. Look at the Tri-Nations that we have. Look at cricket. We play against the best in the world. So, they only deserve a fair shot of this, a fair chance, I'd say.
You see what happens? Yeah. You see what happens is you come back and then you go play in the local leagues, and that was the worst for my career. You go back and then you start to indulge yourself. You dribble a little bit more than you should. Then you got more time on the ball, and then a series comes up, and you need to get sharp for that series.
Yeah.
So the guys playing in Holland are playing week in, week out. They're playing those guys who can get a contract at a Bundesliga side in Germany or at Hofterklasse in. They are playing week in, week out, which keeps them sharp.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you play sometimes in the local leagues, you lose that sharpness. Yeah. You definitely do. No, so we need to keep these guys playing at a very, very high level for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Well, I think, Murray, that's also important that you can see the desire is there, the ambition to do well is there, and that's also very important for hockey. So it's going to be interesting, but I must admit, I was struggling to find out how many caps you actually had for South Africa. Could you enlighten us?
104.
104?
Yeah.
Did you have a big celebration on your 100th?
Not really. I can't really remember. I think it was against Australia. Yeah.
Well, that's a
I was towards the end of my career. I was hanging on by a thread by that stage. By half a hamstring and a bad back and all the rest. Yeah.
So, Murray, you said you had to obviously hold down a job and play hockey matches and things like that. So, how did it all work for you? Surely you must have had some nights where you hardly got any sleep. How often did you guys have fixtures? How did it work? Fixtures from an international point of view.
We were very lucky because we came back into the international fold, so everyone was inviting us out. So 3 months of the year, I was basically away from school.
Okay.
I was very lucky. I had a fantastic headmaster and a school that backed me and said, "Listen, we'll get a temp teacher in, and you go do that." And it happened to be my old school, Pines North Primary. So I was very lucky in that regard that I was sort of backed. But yes, you had a full day of teaching and marking and all the rest, and then you had to train your 3-4 hours a day and do your fitness programs, and then come home late. And I was normally eating very late, 11 o'clock, sleep, up,
Sure.
I wasn't a morning trainer, I must say. I was much an evening trainer. My Natal mates, because the sun comes up earlier, they were morning trainers. I was the kind of sun stays longer up in Cape Town, so I was an evening trainer. I enjoyed training late into the evening. That's when I did. But yeah, we had to juggle a lot. I mean, when you got into a plane to go on for a series, I mean, I used to fall asleep before we even took off. It was, you were to get to finish everything and make sure that your work was planned for the temp teacher.
Yeah.
Those kind of things had to be put in place before you.
It's a lot of work.
So there was a lot being done behind the scenes. But yeah, you had to juggle it. But it was exciting at the time, you know. Yeah. But the nice thing is we were being invited to India, to Indira tournament, to the Aslan Shah in Malaysia. We went to Spain, we played in a tournament in Madrid, and then we'd move to a series against Belgium, then we'd move to a big tournament in Holland, and we could do that during the summer, you know, their European summer. So June, July were great. We'd come back 3 weeks, we'd off to Malaysia, come back, we had an incoming series maybe from Holland, 5 matches at Randburg, or down to Queensmead. So we had a lot of tournaments, and in Easter tournaments at Queensmead. So, and teams were coming in to visit us, and we were traveling a lot. Before the Olympics, we went to Australia. Then Spain came to us. So it was great, and I actually feel for the guys because we're not getting a lot of those competitions.
No, I can see your point of view, and I can see why you may be a bit frustrated for their sake, because you're saying this is what we experienced.
Yeah.
Why hasn't it continued?
So it should be better now. What I'm trying to say is it should be better now, and the guys should be medal contenders, and there's no reason why they can't be.
Yeah.
And I think everything that went before, the first World Cup and the first Olympics, that's history now. We old has-beens, but that should have been sort of the springboard, the building blocks.
Yeah.
Like it was for Belgium and it was for Argentina, the learning experience to go forward and be proper contenders in the big tournaments.
Yeah, no, for sure. Murray, as we sort of draw towards an end, I want to ask you a very controversial question, because you work at a school, and I've heard a few comments about through people saying that perhaps the coaches train the players, the school players, just for their time at school, and maybe not necessarily afterwards. Do you think there's any truth in that, or is that just people having a bit of a dig?
Look, there are coaches that live by their records and how many W's they have next to the name, wins. Even at primary school. Sometimes I've actually said to my primary school boys, I said, you know what, you might lose this game now today, but the skills that we're putting in place and the structure we're putting in place, and what I'm asking you to try and do, will be brilliant for you at under 16 level.
No, for sure.
And sometimes you've got to tell parents that the structures you're putting in place and why you're playing a certain way, and you might get the odd loss playing that way, is better for them going forward.
Yeah.
That's hard for a school because you are judged by your results a lot of the time. So either you're a good coach or a bad coach, or you're not such a good hockey school, or you are a good hockey school.
Yeah.
So you're judged on how many wins and trophies and all the rest. But so it's a difficult thing to juggle. Because you want to give parents who have invested interest, and boys and girls who have invested interest, you want to get them the good times, some wins, nice to win trophies, nice to go win top schools or under 12 day night tournaments or whatever. But you've got to balance it in coaching correctly so that you know their progression will be good going on. You know, the skills you're giving them, structure, the patterns that you're showing them, it's got to move them forward and keep them in good stead for the future. So that's a hard thing to juggle as a coach, because school sports become ugly. It's all about winning, and you can go and win ugly. We've seen it in rugby. You can go win ugly in a hockey match. You can play the most horrible way, and you might eke out a result, but you're not doing your team any justice.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The worst thing we've always said at our school, the worst thing for a schoolboy is an unbeaten season. They need to learn how to lose.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you.
So these ups and downs are important for them.
Definitely. Well, Murray, it's interesting that's a very good perspective that you make there, because it is about learning. It really is, and that's important. But final question, Murray. One thing that the South African squad needs to do, just to push themselves that much more forward, what's the one thing they could do right now?
I just think keep them together.
Okay.
You've got to keep them together. The Aussies have they have a centre.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra, you'll see there's sports in there.
Sure.
Or Perth, where they train a lot. We've got to get a centralised area.
Yeah.
If it's in Johannesburg, let them playing in the league in Johannesburg and coaching and staying together. If it's in Europe, you know, some people have had great ideas and said, why don't we get a big house in Holland and get our players out there living together and training together, and that means South Africa could play on a weekend against Belgium. You know, we have to travel far distances to get really good competition. Where in Belgium they just go across to Holland and they sneak up to Spain and they sneak up to Germany and it's all there, and the Britain come across. So we need to keep guys together, and we need to get them playing high caliber matches.
And I think one important thing is not to give up, because they're right there. I believe there's a possibility of doing something great, and we have achieved so much. And like you said, it's also frustrating because you get South Africa, and then with all due respect, the next best country is maybe Egypt. But we out of that league, we in the European League. Look how we've done. So there is hope. But let's hope that they sort it out.
Let's hope so.
Murray, you're a legend. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.